Kori Higgins. I'm the Chief of Staff here at Parity. And really thrilled to be here. And so so Mario and I are going to be talking today a little bit about what a good elevator pitch is, how you get your message across efficiently to the right audience. So let's get started. We are all here today because we share a common belief in the extraordinary vision of Polkadot. And we heard about that this morning. Vision is a big thing, right? Decoded is more than just a celebration of technology. It's a testament to our collective creativity, commercial ingenuity, and technical prowess. And despite our diverse reasons for being here, though, one thing we can all agree on is Polkadot is a complex story to tell. Learning about Polkadot for the first time is not for the faint-hearted. When I tell people I work on Polkadot, those with a bit of blockchain knowledge are like, oh, that's a layer 1, right? And I often find myself saying, well, technically it's better to think of us as a layer 0. And then I go off on that and I just catch myself starting to explain things in this way. And I realize I've fallen into the trap of overcomplicating things and losing my audience. There are many ways to understand Polkadot, but to truly grasp what we're all striving to build, a technical explanation isn't always the best first step. So instead, what we need to try to do is convey the vision behind the work. And no matter how diverse our reasons might be, that's going to be the way that you're really going to get your audience. This principle holds true, especially in the realm of fundraising, our topic today, which brings me to a quote often attributed to Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, which is, if you want to build a ship, don't drum up the men and women to gather wood, divide the work and give orders. Instead, teach them to yearn for the vast and endless sea. This quote, although it's a bit corny, is usually used as an example of what good leadership and management looks like. Today, however, we're focusing on how this wisdom applies to the art of messaging and how that can be achieved quickly, succinctly, and powerfully. Successful pitching achieves 2 critical objectives. It cuts through the noise, and it leaves your audience with a compelling vision. We all know how easy it is to get buried under an avalanche of information, which leads me to what we're discussing today, the elevator pitch. This may be familiar ground for some of you, but it's essential nonetheless. An elevator pitch is a crucial tool for any founder or early employee in a variety of circumstances. So what is it? An elevator pitch is a concise and compelling summary of an idea, product, service, or even of yourself, if you are using this for your own networking, that can be delivered in the time it takes to ride an elevator. So that's going to be anywhere between 30 seconds to 2 minutes. The idea is that most of the time you don't have the luxury of a half-hour meeting to explain your project idea. We all know opportunities happen sporadically. That's going to happen when you're in the hallway with somebody, when you're grabbing a coffee, and you need to be able to prepared. You need to be prepared to be able to speak to what you're building quickly and in a way which will make a lasting impression. So this skill is invaluable at networking events, investor meetings, any situation where a brief moment could make a significant impact. And it's also, luckily, this is a skill that can be learned and honed. So I am thrilled to introduce someone who knows this terrain very well and who will be taking over the rest of this presentation, which is really the meat of it. So this is Mario Schraepen. He's going to guide us through crafting the perfect elevator pitch. So he will delve into the information hierarchy, timing, do's and don'ts, and techniques to showcase your work in the best possible light. Mario also has a track record of entrepreneurship. So he is the successful founder and CEO of LinkedCar, and has extensive experience in fundraising. He's also a proud PBA grad and founding member of Polkabiz, which recently celebrated their successful on-chain treasury proposal supporting startups in the Polkadot ecosystem. So Mario can share more about that. But in a related point, the reason we're doing this session today and right now is to prepare those of you attending tonight's investor and startup matchmaking event hosted by Polkabiz. So with that, let's give a warm welcome to Mario.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so indeed, the reason for this talk is to help you guys a little bit for the Polkabiz matchmaking event, so founders and investors. If you're not in there, I hope this talk will also help you. Because for some of them, it will be the first time that you will be presenting to a VC. And for the others, I hope I can learn you also some do's and don'ts, so you will be better prepared. Now, before I start any other slides, I need to say that, and that's pretty important, that a VC is not your friend. You share a common goal. You both want to be successful, but most of the time, you as a founder, you have a kind of ideological reason. You want to change the world. You want to create the best UI ever. You want to make it easier to transfer money between wallets, whatever. But an investor is interested in the return of their invested money. Now, generally speaking, an investor expects a return of 10 times the invested amount. So the next time you go to an investor and you ask for $500,000, for instance, remember that the investor is looking at you and they think, how fast can I get a return of 5 million? That's important to know. So the next time you talk to an investor, be just prepared that that is in his mind. I'm going to give you money. How fast can I get money back? 10 times the amount that I put in right now. Now, I understand that many of you guys are technology founders. That is all perfect. But please, when you approach a VC, start with the problem first. That technology, leave that behind. The reason why I'm saying that, if I'm sending you an email, Richard, you don't care if I send it via Google or Outlook. Nobody cares. The result is what matters. The same when you approach a VC, talk about the problem. Make it visible, right? Now, I'm not so long in the Web3 world. I come from the Web2 world. And I know that in the Web3 world, it's filled with all kinds of abbreviations. My God, it's like GM, DPIN, RWA, NFT, DeFi, JAM, whatever. Don't use that in the talks. It makes it complicated. Also, in the very beginning, don't talk about your exit strategy. Probably you have an exit strategy in mind. I want to be rich in 5 years, or I want to exit in 3 years, whatever. Don't mention that to a VC in the very beginning. They want you to be committed to be in there for the long run, not for the short run and for the quick money. Now, an important one is, and I helped also lots of startups, there is one red flag for me. People say sometimes to me, Mario, there is no competition. But you need to understand that if you say there is no competition, this is a red flag for the VC. Why is that? They wonder, how is it possible that no one else in the entire world has thought about this idea? So for them, it's a red flag. Now, when you talk about your competition, clearly explain also why you'll do better. What's the reason? But, be also realistic. A year ago, people approached me and say, I'm going to be the next Facebook. We're going to destroy Google. We're going to do it better. That will not happen overnight. That is just impossible. So make it tangible as well, that a VC understands what you want to do. Now, there is one final thing that you don't need to do. The problem is, I sometimes also made that mistake because it's so, you want to convince people. When you want to convince people, what do? You make your story a little bit bigger. You're gonna tell a VC, yeah, I have already customers. They signed up already. If you say that, make sure you actually have customers. Don't lie. Because basically what you want to do is you want to enter a long-term relationship with a VC, with an investor. So I think it's better to be honest from the very first time. It's like in a relationship, right? When you start dating from the very beginning, you want to be as best as possible. That's all fine, but don't lie. No. Before you start any meeting, And tonight we invited investors. One of the investors, for instance, they only deal with Series A rounds. So don't pitch your idea to them if you don't have any paying customers, because you will waste your time, you waste the time of the investor, you both won't be happy. So do your homework from the very beginning. Now, there are some nice tools to do that. You have Crunchbase, for instance, you have PitchBook. What it helps you is to identify the right investors for your stage and your industry, right? And also what I want to say is the industry. You see that certain VCs are focused on certain industries. So if you see that a VC never invested in DeFi and you're doing DeFi, don't try to sell your product. It will not help. Now, tonight, we have that matchmaking event. For the people that will be there, you have around 10 minutes to just highlight your company or your product. Now, most people ask me, how do you do that? What do you say to an investor? What are they looking for? Now, I always say, first start with you. They are interested in your story. What makes you unique? What is your passion? Why did you start that company? Why is it that you want to conquer something or so? You are the founder and you are actually best placed to explain that. Use that power that we all have inside ourselves and explain our vision, just your passion. Explain that. Now, whatever you do, I told that also before, just keep it simple. My rule of thumb is, if you cannot explain it simply, you're just not ready to approach an investor. You need to make it clear and simple. Now, there is also a difference between a starter and a startup. A starter is for me like a hairdresser or a butcher. A startup is a company that needs to be agile, it needs to be scalable, and that's the magic word, scalable. That means that without needing an extra number of extra employees, you can scale actually your business worldwide. That is something that investors are looking for, together also with product market fit, of course. And lastly, they often say that the graveyard is full of ideas. Everyone has lots of ideas. We need to do this or that. Yeah. The problem is that idea is not alone is not sufficient. I mean, you can, like I said, you have tons of ideas. It's just not sufficient. An investor, they will wonder whether you and your team, you can execute. They're looking for, they like the idea, can you execute the idea? And also, they're also looking at the fact, how agile is your team? Because we all know that a startup is not a straight line into success. That will never happen. Having a startup is a bumpy road. So how agile are you? Now, if you secured a follow-up meeting, you will have a little bit more time in the follow-up meeting to address, for instance, the total addressable market, the TAM. Why is that? An investor is interested in how big the market is and is it large enough for the investment that they do. Secondly, you can also talk about achieved milestones or planned milestones. And lastly, and that's an interesting one, you can share your own experience. Yeah, you can say, I completed the PBA. That's a kind of quality level that you can put inside. Or you can also discuss your company's track record. So you won some awards, or you're being accepted into an accelerator, whatever. All those things are external evidence, actually, that you're doing good, and it will help you to convince an investor. Now, in summary, If I want to ask you €100, what's the first thing that you ask myself? Everyone here in the room will probably ask, oh, what are you going to do with it? That's the same thing as an investor would do. You're going to ask $500,000. So an investor say, okay, why do you need that funding? It's the same thing if I'm going to ask you money. €100, the same thing. Why do you need the funding? The second thing is, how will you use the money that I gave to you? So yeah, you say you need $500,000. What are you going to do with it? And lastly, why the hell should I trust you with my money? What is it that you're going to do with my money to make it 10 times the value that it is today? That is important. Now, this is a slide that people often forget. For the people that go to the Polkadot tonight, a matchmaking event, we will have a brilliant event. There will be a Tomorrowland DJ afterwards. We will be dancing. You had a talk with different investors. It ends in the middle of the night, whatever. And, you know, you forget what you talked about, whatever. It's super crucial to follow up on the contacts you've made. VCs will never reach out directly to you. That will rarely happen. So do your own thing. Send a nice thank you note to those potential investors. Hey, we talked yesterday, it was really nice. Thank you for that. So you're back on the radar. That's important. Share, for instance, your pitch deck. Because tonight, or when you have an elevator pitch, you're not sharing a pitch deck. But if you have the email address, hey, you can send out that pitch deck again. So boom, back on the radar. You can ask for feedback. Hey, how do you like it? You can ask for recommendations. Do you know another investor that's potentially interested in what we are doing? Or do you have someone in your network that can help us? They are happy to help you. But, like anything in life, you need to ask. If you don't ask, they don't know. So, and also try to schedule potentially a follow-up meeting. If they really like you, you will have that follow-up meeting. Now, what is important is there is a common word that you will often hear when you talk with VCs, and unfortunately, that is no. There are different reasons for that, but keep on going. If you believe in your own product, what you're doing, whatever, keep on going. There are millions of people that first heard the word no, and then were the most successful entrepreneurs whatsoever. So even if you have a talk with a VC today and they say, well, I really love your pitch, man, that's really, really good, that doesn't mean that they write out a check next week. So do your follow-up, have that talk and whatsoever. It just takes time, right? Okay, that was my last slide. Has anyone, I think we have for 5 minutes, I get a thumbs up, 5 minutes. Has anyone any question whatsoever? Could be anything. If it's pitching related, I mean. No questions whatsoever. Okay, that's fine. Oh, sorry, you have a question. Shall I give you the mic so you can?
Just going back to your first slide, is there a list of the investors that will attend tonight so we could try to do some of the due diligence on Crunchbase or PitchBook before we attend?
So yes, there is. So we have a list of the investors that are coming. Are you coming tonight to the Polkadot event? Yeah. You will get it on paper. That's how it works in the Web3 world. No, you also have access to the matchmaking app. There you see all the investors as well, but we understood and we saw some analytics and we thought, let's give it on paper as well. So tonight you will have it on paper as well, all the investors. I think we have 46 investors, by the way, which is huge. I'm happy about that. Any other question? No? Okay, then I would like to ask a question. For who it is the first time here in Brussels? Oh, right. And you guys still feel safe? Nothing will happen here. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. I want to thank you, Kori. I want to thank you also, and well, have a nice afternoon, and see you tonight.